800-228-5615. We've got a caller from River Falls now. And Mike, you're on the air. What's on your mind, Mike?
I have a question for Mr. Page. It seems as though the current administration in the city of River Falls is really not very interested in, seriously thinking about removing these dams. Does he know something the rest of us don't, or something maybe the community should think about?
Sure. Thanks for the question, Michael Page.
Very good question. You're saying that it appears as if the administrator is not in favor of removing the dams. Is that correct?
The administration, the elected officials, or at least we certainly haven't seen anything. They're willing to study it and look at it. But.
Sure. Excellent question. The local government right now, the city administrator, they're all doing a very good job of having a very open, transparent process. The city's website, rfcity.org/hydro, HYDRO, has all sorts of information about the FERC relicensing process and the conversation going on right now in the city of River Falls. The administration, the city council, they are open to community dialogue. They are listening to people, and that is really probably why that perception is out there, is that they're really in a studying and listening phase, and they don't want to be too quick to jump on either side of the conversation and say this is absolutely what we should do at this time. Our organization, the Friends of the Kinni, absolutely, we feel that the restoration of the Kinnickinnic River through the heart of River Falls would just be an amazing, transformative thing for our community to pursue. It's just the administration right now, the city council, they are wanting to incorporate all ideas and perspectives on the topic. So they're busy listening to people, and it's great.
And for what it's worth, we did invite members of the city administration to the program today, but they said they're going to hold off. They would feel more comfortable discussing it in spring. I think that's after some of the decisions at the federal level are made. But thank you very much, Mike, for the question. 800-228-5615 is the number to call. I'd like to switch now to the River Falls and the tale of two dams. There are two dams left on the Kinnickinnic River. It's a Class 1 trout stream, beloved, like militantly beloved, if that makes any sense. Folks over there are just nuts about that river. Both of the dams are smack dab in the middle of the city of River Falls. They are Junction Falls Dam and the Powell Falls Dam. Michael Page, if you could, please tell us a little bit about them. How did they get there?
Absolutely. Well, the dams that are currently present, the Upper Junction Falls Dam was built in 1990 when they refaced the previous cement structure that was there before that. The old dam was built in 1920, which was actually when the upper lake of Lake George was created. Prior to that, there was not as large of an impoundment there. It was not a lake. The lower Powell Falls Dam was built out of cement in 1966, so it is a bit more aged structure and does need some repairs at this time. That they're still yet to be determined what needs to be done there. But the whole situation right now in the city of River Falls is just unique in every respect. You have two hydroelectric dams that are licensed by the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, or FERC, in order to generate hydroelectricity. That license has only been in place since 1988, and it is currently coming up for expiration. And there's a reason why license expired. The licenses are given by FERC in order to operate a hydroelectric facility on a public resource, a navigable waterway within the United States is a public resource by definition, and the public resource in the city of River Falls is the Kinnickinnic River. And you're absolutely correct that it is just beloved by the community of River Falls. The comprehensive plan for the city of River Falls has an entire chapter devoted to the preservation of the Kinnickinnic River. It is an outstanding resource water. It is also a Class 1 trout stream. However, through the length of the Kinnickinnic River that runs through town, the two impoundments, or the two mill ponds created by these two dams, really are not trout habitat at all. They are not classified by the Wisconsin DNR as outstanding resource waters. There's actually approximately 2.6 miles of the Kinnickinnic River through town that is not designated as an outstanding resource water. It's only above Highway 35 and below the lower dam where the Kinnickinnic meets these designation requirements, and therefore the stretch through town, while it's still considered a Class 1 trout stream and should be managed as such, currently fails literally in every respect to meet the definition of a river, let alone a world-class trout stream.
And these are leftover, these dams are leftover from earlier days when they were mill ponds?
Yes, they're in very similar locations to where the old dams used to be. The Upper Junction Falls Dam, actually, when it was built in 1920 out of cement, it flooded the previous dam that was a rock and timber crib dam, and that dam is still present under the waters of Lake George underneath the Winter Street Bridge in town. It's just submerged because they built a new dam that was taller and flooded it. So yes, similar spots because you want to harness the power of the water that's falling over the waterfalls in order to generate power. And it used to be mechanical energy. In the late 1800s, the owner of the Junction Falls Dam, I'm going to forget his first name, but his last name was Cox, his mill burned. And after it burned, he left town and gave the dam to the city of River Falls and said, here you go, city of River Falls, here's a dam. Do what you will with it. And a referendum was held, and it was decided that it should be utilized for power generation and that it should be a public utility rather than privately owned. And so the city took it over in 1900. And at the time that the first hydroelectric generation was installed, it produced 100% of our electricity that the community consumed because there wasn't any other source of electricity. Yeah. And today, the two dams combined generate between 0.9 and 1.3% of the electricity that we consume as a community.
So it's been chugging along all this time. I mean, in terms of megawatts, what are we talking?
The two dams combined have a total of 375 kilowatt hours of production. Again, 0.9 to 1.3% of the electricity that we consume on an annual basis. That adds up to about 1.1 to 1.5 megawatts of electricity that these dams produce.
This guy's done his homework. I appreciate that. 800-228-5615. We're talking now about River Falls and the dams there and the push by this group, Friends of the Kinni and others, to remove them. If you've got a comment or a question related to that, give us a call. Also, just if you want to talk about dams in general, let us know. 800-228-5615. Let's take one more call real quick, and we'll take a break, and then we'll be back with more discussion. Right now, we're going to hear from Dave in Augusta. You're on the air.
Hi, good morning, Rich.
Morning.
Hey, I fished the Chippewa flowage quite a bit in the summertime, and I know that the recent 2 or 3 years, they've drawn down the water at the winter dam to historic lows, which has, in effect, killed the milfoil and the exotic weeds that have invaded the flowage, increasing the water quality and making the lake more enjoyable and better for fishing. I was wondering if Altoona, the lake in Altoona, would have the same effect with the drawdown.
Sure. Thanks for that question. Thank you. Josh Peterson, Lake Altoona, as with any impoundment, has got issues with invasive species, mainly milfoil and all that. Is that going to be a benefit of this drawdown? Maybe that you'll kill off some of the weeds?
Honestly, I'm not really familiar with that topic, so I'm not sure.
Okay. Mike Rogney, you want to take a stab at this one?
I could try. I'd imagine it would help. I don't know if there's actually any evasives in there in the beginning.
Sure.
That'd be a lakes biologist. Hate to pass the buck on a little bit again, but
sure.
With the drawdown too, I mean, I'm sure it helped, transport some sediment as well, I guess. Mm-hmm. There's, I guess, some positives, to it, but
right.
Not exactly sure.
And I'm just curious, we're kind of bouncing around here, but in River Falls, the impoundments, those lakes, do they get a little ugly with the algae and whatnot, weeds?
The two dams in town create two 15-acre lakes, and both of them are practically completely filled with sediment. So, yes, absolutely. Both of these impoundments have very little recreational utility for our community due to the level of sedimentation and the just incredible algae bloom that they experience every summer. So
it's thick.
Absolutely, there's major issues with these two impoundments. If they are to be maintained in the future, something has to be done in order to make these two lakes more of a recreational amenity. Of course, we would prefer to have the trout stream and the waterfall restored, but if the dams are to stay, then these lakes need to be turned into something that they currently are not.
Well, let's talk about when did the talk start about surrounding removing the dams begin? I mean,
Sure.
Has this been ongoing for decades, or is it now that this is maybe an opportunity, people are pouncing on it?
This has absolutely been a discussion that's been going on for decades. Within my organization, I work with individuals that were engaged in the initial licensing conversation in 1988, and at that time there were conversations regarding the potential removal of the dams. It was nowhere near the level of conversation that is going on today, but there was some discussion. Today we have a lot of assistance from, say, the Clean Water Act and other legislation that has demanded that when the FERC relicensing process occurs, that it considers the natural resources, that it considers recreational utilization, that it considers aesthetic values of the rivers and of the dams.
Instead of just utility.
Exactly. So the entire reason that the FERC relicensing process is going on, that the reason any dam has a license expire and they have to apply for a new license is so that the owners of the dams, the recreational users of the river, and the local citizens can reevaluate the utilization of the public resource, and that is, in our case, the Kinnickinnic River. And so we are stepping back as a community, as owners of the dams. It is a public utility that owns these dams, and we're stepping back in order to reevaluate what is the greatest utilization of our resource. We want to find that out. When we know that answer, we can determine whether the dams should stay or go.
Talking about dams in western Wisconsin, we're focusing this last part of the hour on the River Falls, the two dams in River Falls that citizens want to remove, or some citizens that are in favor of letting the Kinnickinnic run clean through the city and kind of re-exposing the falls there. 800-228-5615. I'm joined by Michael Page. He's a spokesman for the citizens group Friends of the Kinni. Also joined by Mike Rogney, DNR Water Regulations and Zoning Engineer, and Josh Peterson, Director of Eau Claire County Parks and Forests. We'll be back in just a bit. We've got more calls on the line. 800-228-5615.
From the Center for Investigative Reporting and PRX, I'm Al Letson of Reveal.
This story is going to be about people trying to keep secrets.
True stories that affect your world every week on Reveal.
Was there any reason why you didn't want to tell us the truth?
We didn't lie. We just withheld information.
Because there's always more to the story on Reveal.
Tonight at 6 on the Ideas Network. Support for Wisconsin Public Radio is provided by the Harold A. and Helen D. Engel Fund, helping to keep educational information available to communities throughout the state by providing support for Wisconsin Public Radio and Wisconsin Public Television. Support also comes from Mayo Clinic Health System, encouraging people to stay active in the winter by moving outside or engaging in community-hosted events. More is on the Classes and Events page at mayoclinichealthsystem.org.
This is the West Side on Wisconsin Public Radio. Thanks for joining us this Monday morning. We're talking about dams in western Wisconsin. We've been getting a number of calls, and we appreciate it. Phone lines are actually full right now, but you can keep trying at 800-228-5615, or if you like, post a question or comment on our Facebook page. Also, if you missed part of the program or want to listen to it again, check out the online archives. Go to WPR.org. Click on the Shows tab. You'll find the West Side tab, and you'll have years of archives to listen to. 800-228-5615. We're talking now about the effort to remove two dams in the city of River Falls on the Kinnickinnic River, but we are going to work through the calls just the same, and we go to Bob in Beldenville. Bob, you're on the air. Thanks so much. What's on your mind?
Hi, thanks for having me on. Do you remember the Willow River dams before they were taken out?
Michael Page is nodding his head, so let's go to him.
Absolutely. The Mounds Dam that was just above the city there. I used to ice fish there all the time when I was in high school. And then the Willow Falls Dam as well that was removed. It used to sit right at the top of that Willow Falls waterfall that is now one of the feature amenities of the Willow River State Park.
Yeah, correct. And that was kind of a sleeper little park at the time, and now that they've taken those dams out, I don't know if you've been there since then, but it's just completely busy over the weekends, and
absolutely,
people hike there all the time. And
absolutely,
I don't know if River Falls realize how much it's going to bring into the community by people just coming to sit around that falls and picnic. And
it is just an amazing opportunity for our community. I could not agree with you more, sir.
Because it's amazing, I used to hike there all the time when the dams were there, and nobody was up there. And now they're gone, and River Falls could experience a good influx of people coming to our community.
And Michael Page, that's one of the big selling points that your group is raising, dam removal as tourism generator.
Absolutely. You have to evaluate the resource for all of its potential uses, and the best potential use, in my opinion, is to restore it, allow it to flow freely through our community, and to restore the Junction Falls right in the middle of town, which is the namesake of our community. The river is already an amazing source of civic pride. To have that waterfall restored in the heart of town and a full mile stretch of world-class trout stream running right through the middle of town instead of those 2 mill ponds that currently exist, I cannot imagine a more transformative project that we could undertake in our community. This is really a turning point for our community, and it would be absolutely tremendous to have this river restored.
Some of the photos that were taken before the dams were built back in the 1800s, beautiful
Absolutely.
Cascading falls. And very quickly, Mike Rogney, I'm going to go to you on this with Mike Rogney of the DNR. It seems like, is there a growing trend of people decommissioning dams and removing them? Is that, because in research for the show, I saw a lot of instances since the 1990s of that being done. In your neck of the woods in west central Wisconsin, are there any dam decommissioning projects right now that you can think of?
I've gone through a couple, relatively small ones. I think now it's becoming a thing because a lot of these dams are very old. Mm-hmm. So do people want to put in do the owners want to put in the money to fix it? And that's kind of where they weigh their options versus removal versus repairing it.
Sure.
There's a lot of values you got to take into account. Michael
Page, last summer the city of River Falls asked the federal government for a 5-year extension on its current hydroelectric license for 5 years, with the idea that it could use this time to figure out what to do next as part of the Kinnickinnic River corridor planning process. We haven't really explained what that is, but the extension was denied. So does that put the city in a hot seat, or what does that mean?
Well, as of the date of the denial of December 9th, they were given the option to file an appeal to that decision, and they have done so. Right. So this past Friday, they submitted an appeal to the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission for them to reconsider and allow for a rehearing of their initial application for a 5-year extension. That has been submitted to the FERC. We will wait and see what the FERC says regarding their appeal, but absolutely, the denial order tells them explicitly that the FERC right now anticipates that they will submit an application on August 31st of 2016 either for a license renewal or for a license surrender in order to decommission the hydroelectric facility. So they have a deadline as of right now. Submitting the appeal was their choice in order to further pursue the 5-year license extension. But if it is not granted, if they don't get that 5-year extension, absolutely, they have a deadline of August 31st, 2016 to submit an application. Our organization, the Friends of the Kinni, the Kinnickinnic River Land Trust, Trout Unlimited, as well as the River Alliance of Wisconsin have all suggested that with this time frame that the city really bear down and get to work on evaluating the alternatives that they have. They have either pursue relicensing or pursue a license surrender and decommission the hydroelectric facility, and they should step back right now and say, let's perform this alternatives analysis. Let's look at these two options and decide which should we do and get the ball rolling and get the job done so that we can meet that deadline in order to best inform a decision of whether those dams should stay or go.
How much would it cost to remove these dams? Who would be responsible? And, from the city's perspective, would it be cheaper for them to just maintain this thing at the minimum output that it has rather than knocking them down?
Well, historically, the dams have not been big moneymakers for the community. The city did a preliminary financial analysis, and they found that since 1988, had we just simply been buying and reselling the electricity that the dams produce, that's what we do for the other 99% of our electricity. We buy it and we sell it to our customers, the River Falls Municipal Utility ratepayers. And if we had just done that, with this electricity, we would have made $274,000 more in the last 25 years, or 27 years, just by doing what we do with the rest of our electricity. So we have lost out on profits by operating this hydroelectric facility. They are not a big money maker for us. They, in the short term, have cash flowed about $60,000 to $65,000 per year. But dams are long-term investments, as we found with the Altoona Dam. There's always more expenses that come up. These are large, big structures that you have to maintain. The water body you have to maintain. There are many expenses involved with their continued operation. I think that maintaining the dams, getting a new license, which could cost anywhere from $220,000 to $700,000 just for the new license, is a big ticket item. I mean, that's why we're stepping back and looking at this.
How does that compare, though, to taking down 2 dams?
Yeah, dam removal, I mean, it's literally just a cement wall there. If you had a cement wall of the same side and it was out in the middle of a parking lot, it would be no big deal at all to go and break it up and throw it in the back of dump trucks and haul it away. This is just a cement wall down in a valley. So you have to drive down in the valley, you have to manage the water around it, but it's literally just a cement wall. So it's not a lot of fancy engineering to remove. You just have to manage the water. The expenses, the Friends of the Kinni right now is actually pursuing fundraising and grant writing in order to fund a feasibility study for dam removal and river restoration this year, in the year 2016. So we are moving forward with gaining an estimate for dam removal and river restoration. Immediate ballpark is somewhere in the range of $1.5 to $2.5 million to remove the dams and restore the river. That's a ballpark. There is a grant available from the Wisconsin DNR. It's a $500,000 grant per dam for dam removal. So that could potentially fund $1 million right there. And they do 13 of those grants every year, and they're based on priority. And the Kinnickinnic River and River Falls would be pretty high priority for river restoration.
We'll take our final call of the hour right now. We're just getting too close to try to squeeze any more in. But Rod from Weyerhaeuser has been patient. So what's on your mind, Rod?
Yeah, thank you. I have 2 questions. I'd like to make one comment, though. I was aware of this for years that, Wisconsin, in the Chippewa term, Indian Native American, that it was Quinsanson or something, the gathering of water. So obviously you'll go to other states, and I've been up through many states. I used to drive truck, and I'd come back to Wisconsin. I mean, it's like we don't realize how blessed we are with the water volume. And I know a lot of these dams that were flowages, actually they call them lakes, but they're technically flowages. Some of them, like Chain, like Island Lake, McCann over here south of Weyerhaeuser, Chain Lake, Clear Lake, Long Lake up north. A lot of those lakes.
Rod, we got 3 minutes.
They instigated the idea, but I was just wondering now, like Rice Lake, they harvest that the weeds and such and algae, and if that's feasible to derive energy from that algae that they've been talking about for 10 years, and also 20, 25, 30 years ago, they were talking about the fish dams, that they were going to install fish dams, and I believe they did on some, but if they're ever accomplished their goal.
Sure, fish ladders on some of the dams and harvesting the algae. Interesting concept. Who wants to take a stab at that one? Anyone have any thoughts? Mike Rogney.
I'm not really certain about the algae stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know if...
It'd be great if there were a use for it, because I know I used to live in Shawano, and on the Wolf River they're harvesting the stuff all the time.
Oh, really?
Digging it out. Michael Page.
Could always be used for fertilizer.
There you go. All right, we've got a couple minutes left. Michael Page, what do you see happening in the next 3 years with regard to these dams? Is there going to be any action? Can you predict?
Well, there's going to be a lot of discussion. There's going to be a lot of analysis, and with the timeline as it sits right now, there certainly should be an alternatives analysis investigating which way should we move forward, and hopefully in the fall, on August 31st, 2016, there will be a submission to FERC, and whether it's for a new license or a license surrender, it will lead to a lot of further investigation on the topic, and hopefully within the next 5-10 years, we see the Kinnickinnic River restored.
Josh Peterson, the repairs in Lake Altoona, you mentioned the cost, and there's a DNR grant for that. What's to come, I guess, in the next half a year?
In the next half a year, we'll obviously look at this phase 2 work. If that's going to be conducted, that would be done during the summer or during the spring of this year. So we'll have to see what the county wants to do and consider the long-term impacts of not doing the work right now.
All right, thank you all for your discussion this hour. Josh Peterson is Director of Eau Claire County Parks and Forest. Mike Rogney is with the DNR. He's a Regulations and Zoning Engineer. And Michael Page is with Friends of the Kinni. Thank you all very much. Thanks for all the calls this hour. Have a safe and productive week. We'll be back in a couple weeks. We're off next Monday morning.